The human exploration vessel Odyssey floated quietly above the green world of Zerath Prime. It was a peaceful planet, filled with oceans of silver water and glowing forests that sparkled like crystals. For Captain Ethan Cole, it was supposed to be a routine first contact mission. Meet the locals, share a few polite words, and go home a hero. Instead, he was about to make history in a way no one could have imagined. Ethan stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, hands clasped behind his back. His dark eyes studied the planet's curve through the observation window. Around him, the crew moved with nervous energy. It wasn't every day that humans met a completely new civilization. Status report? Ethan asked calmly. His science officer, Dr. Rana Patel, looked up from her screen. The Velthara delegation has confirmed they're ready to receive us, Captain. Their capital is a city called Velara, built entirely from crystalline structures. They seem very formal. Ethan smiled faintly. Formal is fine. Let's just hope they're friendly too. The landing shuttle descended through clouds that shimmered with pale blue light. From above, the Velthara capital looked like a jewel. Tall, shining spires surrounded by rivers of light and floating transport rings. Everything seemed graceful, symmetrical, and alive. As Ethan stepped out of the shuttle, the alien air felt cool and heavy. Waiting before him stood 6 tall figures, each nearly 7 feet high, their silver-blue skin gleaming under the twin suns. They wore armor that reflected light like glass, and their eyes glowed faintly with colors that shifted depending on their emotions. The tallest among them stepped forward. Her armor was darker, edged in violet energy lines, and her long hair shimmered like molten silver. "I am Commander Thalra Vey, representative of the Velthara Guard," she said, her voice deep and commanding. "You are the human leader?" Ethan nodded politely. "Captain Ethan Cole of Earth and the Terran Exploration Fleet. It's an honor to meet you, Commander." Her golden eyes studied him for a long moment, calm, assessing, slightly curious. Then she turned and gestured for him to follow. "Our queen awaits." The throne hall of Velara was breathtaking. The walls were alive with faintly pulsing lights, the floor a mirror of glowing stone. Dozens of Velthara nobles stood in quiet rows, watching as the human delegation entered. Ethan tried not to stare too long at anything. He could feel the tension. Every move he made was being judged, every step measured. At the end of the hall stood the Velthara queen draped in flowing silver robes. Her voice echoed softly through the chamber as she spoke in near-perfect translation. "We welcome you, human travelers. The stars have whispered of your kind, curious, emotional, unpredictable. We hope this meeting begins a friendship that benefits both worlds." Ethan bowed slightly. "That is our wish as well, Your Majesty. Humanity seeks peace, knowledge, and cooperation." The Queen smiled faintly. "Then let us begin." For a time, the discussion went smoothly. They exchanged gifts, data crystals from the Velthara, holographic art from Earth. Ethan answered their questions patiently, explaining human history, languages, and science. But then came the moment that changed everything. As Thalra stepped forward to present the ceremonial crystal of unity,
Ethan turned his head, and their eyes met. It lasted only 2 seconds. Her eyes,
glowing gold and silver, locked onto his brown ones. Something in the air changed. A faint hum of energy pulsed through the hall. Every Velthara in the room froze. The Queen's attendants gasped. One even dropped his staff. Thalra blinked, her face suddenly unreadable. Then with surprising certainty she declared loudly, "You looked at me. Now you are my partner." Ethan froze mid-breath. I'm sorry, what?" The hall erupted into a chorus of whispers. Thalra straightened her back proudly, her voice ringing with authority. "Under the ancient gaze law, if one meets the eyes of a Velthara warrior during the binding hour, a life bond is formed." "You looked. Therefore we are partners," Ethan blinked. "Wait, you mean like diplomatic partners, right?" Her expression didn't change. "Life partners." Dr. Patel tried not to laugh behind him, failing miserably. The Queen, however, looked completely serious. "It is law," the Queen said solemnly. "Our people hold sacred the binding hour. When 2 gazes meet under its energy field, they are joined, but not by choice, but by destiny." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "Well, that's quite a surprise." Thalra crossed her arms. "You dishonor me?" No, Ethan said quickly. "I just didn't read the manual for this kind of first contact." The Queen raised a hand and the murmuring stopped. Commander Thalra, the bond is witnessed. The human shall be treated with respect. You are now united under the gaze pact. The hall echoed with the sound of a ceremonial chime. Ethan's heart sank. He turned slightly toward Thalra, who now looked at him with a mix of satisfaction and curiosity. He whispered, "So, I guess this makes us official?" Thalra nodded firmly. "Yes. You belong to me now." "Right," Ethan muttered under his breath. This mission just got complicated. Later that night, Ethan sat in the guest chambers of the palace. The architecture was unlike anything he'd seen. Walls that flowed like glass, glowing gardens outside the window, and strange humming sounds that seemed to come from the air itself. He activated his communicator. "Odyssey, come in. You're not going to believe this, but I might have just gotten married." The voice of his first officer, Lieutenant Harker, came through, full of disbelief. "Married? Sir, you were gone 3 hours." "Yeah," Ethan sighed, rubbing his temples. "Apparently looking at someone the wrong way counts as a cosmic wedding ceremony here. Should we congratulate you?" "Just send me the cultural database on Velthara traditions," Ethan said dryly. "I need to figure out if I'm expected to share living quarters or defend my honor in a duel tomorrow." The next morning, Thalra arrived outside his chamber, standing tall in ceremonial armor. "You will accompany me," she said simply. "Where to?" Ethan asked, following her down the glowing corridor. "To the Citadel. You must be presented to the council as my chosen partner. It is tradition." As they walked, Ethan noticed the other Velthara staring, some with awe, others with disapproval. "Do all your people take this gaze law seriously?" he asked. "Yes," she said, her tone even. "It is sacred. The gaze binds spirits and futures. None can escape it." "Well," Ethan replied, half smiling, "humans have a saying too. Don't make eye contact during important meetings. Maybe we should have followed that one." Thalra tilted her head slightly, confused. "You just often. It's how humans stay sane," he said. "Especially when they accidentally get bonded to tall alien warriors." For the first time, a faint smile flickered on her lips. "Perhaps it is. Not entirely unpleasant." Ethan laughed softly. "I'll take that as a compliment." By the time they reached the Citadel, Ethan had begun to realize something. The Velthara weren't just strong. They were deeply honorable. Their entire society was built around balance, between strength and calm, tradition and emotion, and Thalra, for all her strictness, had a quiet depth in her eyes and a curiosity, maybe even warmth. When the council meeting ended, Thalra turned to him. "You may think this bond a mistake," she said softly, "but among my people, destiny chooses wisely." Ethan looked back at her. Maybe, or maybe destiny has a strange sense of humor. She considered that, then nodded once. Perhaps both. As they walked side by side through the shining halls of the alien city, Ethan couldn't help but smile. The mission had not gone as planned, but somehow, deep down, he felt this strange partnership might change more than just his life. It might change 2 worlds. Days turned into weeks, and Captain Ethan Cole slowly began to understand what life on Zerath Prime really meant. The city of Velara shone beneath 2 suns, its crystal towers glowing softly at night. From his new living quarters inside the Citadel of Union, Ethan could see almost the entire city. Floating bridges, glowing gardens, and silver rivers that curved between tall spires. It was beautiful, peaceful, and very confusing. Because he was no longer just a visitor, he was, officially the bonded partner of Commander Thalra Vey, the most respected warrior in the Velthara Guard. Every morning began with a strange routine. At sunrise, Thalra would enter his chamber, always silent, always serious, and drop a crystal plate on the table. "Nutrient ration," she said one morning, her tone flat. "You must eat before training." Ethan poked at the shimmering blue cubes. "This looks like someone melted a diamond and forgot to flavor it." Thalra tilted her head. "It contains all necessary sustenance." "I'll miss pancakes," Ethan muttered. She frowned. "What are pancakes?" "Something warm, soft, and sweet," he explained. "Unlike this glowing rock." She gave him a long, curious look, the kind that said she didn't understand humans but was trying to. Then she turned and said simply, "We begin at dawn." Training with Thalra was no easy task. She believed that strength built respect and that no partner of hers should be weak. At first, Ethan tried to keep up, but Velthara training methods were designed for beings twice as strong as any human. Within 10 minutes, he was gasping for air while Thalra stood calmly beside him, barely sweating. "Again," she said. "I think I left my stamina back on Earth," he joked, holding his side. Thalra sighed. "You must endure. My partner cannot appear fragile before the council." "Well, tell your council to lower their expectations," Ethan said, smiling. "Humans don't grow muscles overnight." For a brief moment, her golden eyes softened. "You speak with defiance," she said. "I respect that." It was the first compliment she had ever given him. Outside of training, Ethan spent time learning Velthara customs. He studied their language, their history, and their strange energy-based technology. He quickly realized that the Velthara valued honor above all things, truth, discipline, and strength of purpose. Yet, he also noticed something missing in their culture. There was little laughter, little warmth. Everything was calm, serious, and precise, so he decided to introduce something new. One evening, as Thalra reviewed holographic battle plans, Ethan entered her chamber holding a small music device from his ship. "What is that sound?" she asked as gentle notes filled the air. "Music," he said proudly. "It's something humans use to feel emotion. It can make us happy, sad, or peaceful." Thalra listened quietly. The slow melody echoed against the glowing walls. Her expression softened slightly. "This is pleasant," she admitted. Ethan smiled. "It's called a piano. There are no weapons or strategy in it, just feeling." Thalra looked at him for a long moment. "You humans are strange," she said finally. "You fight with your hearts as much as your hands." "Exactly," Ethan replied. "Maybe that's our strength." A few days later, Thalra brought Ethan to a large hall filled with hundreds of Velthara. It was the Council of Elders, and today they were gathering to discuss whether the human bond was a blessing or a curse. When they entered, the hall went silent. One of the elders, a tall figure with eyes like burning ice, stood. "Commander Thalra," he said sternly, "you bring dishonor to the guard. You bonded with a being of unknown species. We cannot trust what we do not understand." Thalra bowed slightly. "He has done nothing to dishonor us. His actions show courage." "Courage?" the elder scoffed. "He is fragile. He cannot lift a blade of plasma nor channel energy. What can such a creature offer the Velthara?" Ethan stepped forward before Thalra could answer. "I can offer something different," he said clearly. "Maybe I can't fight like you, but humans think differently. We adapt. We find ways to win without being the strongest," the elder sneered. "Empty words." "Then test me," Ethan said firmly. A low murmur filled the hall. Thalra's eyes widened slightly, but she said nothing. The elder smiled coldly. "Very well. Tomorrow you will face the right of worth. If you fail, your bond will be void, and humanity will lose its right to stand beside us." That night, Ethan sat alone in his chamber, staring at the stars. He wasn't afraid for himself. He was afraid for what failure might mean. If he lost, humanity would be seen as weak and foolish. The fragile friendship they'd begun could end before it truly started. Thalra entered quietly. "You should rest," she said. "I doubt I'll sleep," he replied. "Any advice for surviving your people's right of worth?" She hesitated before sitting beside him. "It tests not strength alone. It tests will. The body may fail, but the spirit must not." He glanced at her. "You sound like a poet." "I am a soldier," she said softly. "But I have learned, from you perhaps, that courage can wear many faces." Ethan smiled faintly. "And I've learned that silence doesn't mean you don't care." Their eyes met for a moment, the same way they had that first day. But this time there was no shock, no surprise, only quiet understanding. The next morning, the Citadel Plaza was filled with spectators. Ethan stood before a large circular platform where glowing symbols floated above the ground. 3 trials awaited him, one of strength, one of mind, and one of spirit. The first trial was brutal. He had to climb a vertical wall made of shifting crystal, each section glowing and moving like a living puzzle. Velthara warriors could leap through it easily, but for a human it was near impossible. Ethan slipped, fell, and got up again. His arms ached. His breath came in ragged gasps. But every time he looked down, Thalra stood watching, silent but steady. Her presence gave him strength. He finally reached the top, trembling but standing tall. The second trial tested his mind. A holographic sphere projected alien symbols and asked him to solve an energy sequence. The puzzle's logic was strange, but Ethan remembered his training with Thalra: patience, focus, rhythm. Slowly, he aligned the patterns until the sphere glowed with perfect light. The crowd murmured in surprise. The final trial was the hardest, the trial of spirit. Ethan had to face a simulated battle illusion designed to exploit his fears. In the illusion, he saw Earth burning, the faces of his crew fading. A voice whispered, "You are small, weak, insignificant." He clenched his fists and shouted, "Maybe I'm small, maybe I'm weak." But humans never stop fighting, not for power, but for each other. The illusion shattered into light. The crowd erupted in applause. When the trials ended, Ethan stood before the council, exhausted but smiling. The elder who had doubted him now looked silent, humbled. "You have proven your worth, human," he said slowly. "Perhaps your kind is not as weak as we believed." Thalra stepped forward, pride shining in her eyes. "He has the heart of a true warrior." Ethan turned to her and said quietly, "I didn't win alone. You taught me what mattered." She nodded once. "Then we both learn." The council bowed their heads, and the queen herself appeared as a projection of light. "Today the bond between human and Velthara stands strong," she declared. "May it be a bridge between our worlds." That night, as the city celebrated, Thalra and Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing horizon. "Today," she said softly, "I was proud." Ethan smiled. "You mean of me?" "Of us," she corrected. They stood in silence, the twin moons reflecting in her golden eyes. For the first time since coming to Zerath Prime, Ethan felt like he truly belonged. The alien world didn't feel so alien anymore. Months had passed since Captain Ethan Cole had passed the trials of the Velthara and earned their respect. He and Commander Thalra Vey had grown closer, learning from each other, teaching each other, and forming a partnership that bridged two very different worlds. But peace, as always, is fragile. A distress signal arrived at the Citadel of Union. A massive fleet of Draven Dominion warships had entered the system. The Draven Empire was known for conquering planets, enslaving civilizations, and crushing any species that resisted. Their fleet far outnumbered anything the humans or Velthara had in orbit. The council convened immediately. Velthara elders and human officers crowded into the holographic war room. "This is unprecedented," Thalra said calmly. "They have ships that can destroy entire cities in minutes. Yet they have not attacked yet." Ethan scanned the projections. "They're waiting. They're testing us. But we can't wait. We need a plan. And fast." The Queen's voice filled the room, resonating through the walls. "This is your moment, human and Velthara alike. Show that your bond is stronger than fear." Ethan swallowed. This was it. The test not of strength or intelligence, but of courage, unity, and heart. The combined human-Velthara fleet assembled in orbit. Velthara ships gleamed with energy shields that shimmered like glass. Human ships, smaller and faster, weaved between them. The two species had little experience fighting together, but now they had no choice. "Formation Delta," Thalra commanded, her voice firm yet steady. "Stay close to the humans. Their strategies are unpredictable, but effective," Ethan responded over the comms. "Let's show them that humans aren't just adaptable, we're smart. Follow my lead when we turn." The Draven fleet approached, black and massive, a wall of metal and fire. Their cannons glowed ominously, charging with destructive energy. The first wave of fire struck. Velthara shields absorbed most of it, but a few smaller human ships were damaged. Ethan noticed a pattern in the Dominion attacks, and they were fast but predictable. "This is it," he shouted into the comms. "Velthara, flank left. Humans, follow me through the opening." Ships responded instantly. The combined fleet moved like a living organism, humans and Velthara adjusting to each other mid-flight. For the first time, Ethan realized the strength of their bond wasn't just personal. It was strategic. Mid-battle, disaster struck. Thalra's flagship, the Velthara Sentinel, was hit by a massive energy blast. Alarms blared as systems shut down. Thalra fought to stabilize the ship, but it was clear. The Dominion had targeted her specifically. "Ethan," she said sharply, "you cannot come here. Stay with the fleet." "I can't leave you," he yelled back. "I'm coming." Ignoring protocol, Ethan piloted his ship through a storm of fire, dodging blasts and weaving between Velthara cruisers. Finally, he reached Thalra's damaged ship. Boarding the Sentinel, he joined her on the bridge where consoles sparkled erratically. "We need to act fast," Ethan said. "Give me access to your weapon controls." Thalra hesitated but nodded. "Very well. Use the hybrid system." The hybrid system combined human precision with Velthara energy. Together, they could unleash a powerful attack, but it was untested. One wrong move could destroy both ships. Ethan's fingers flew over the controls, following the rhythm of the energy flows. Thalra stabilized the shields while he focused on syncing human targeting protocols with Velthara energy matrices. "Almost there," he muttered. The Dominion fleet was closing in. Their ships were massive, their cannons ready to annihilate everything. "Now," Thalra said. Ethan activated the hybrid system. A beam of bright silver-gold energy shot from the Sentinel, splitting and arcing through enemy ships. The Dominion's shields faltered and their formation broke apart. Human and Velthara ships surged forward, taking advantage of the chaos. The Dominion tried to retreat, but the combined fleet pressed the attack. Using a mix of human agility and Velthara strength, they pushed the enemy back, forcing a surrender. When the battle ended, silence fell over the fleet. Smoke and energy trails slowly cleared. Ethan looked around at the faces of human and Velthara officers alike. They were exhausted but victorious. Thalra stood beside him. Her golden eyes reflected pride and relief. "You did well," she said quietly. "We did well," Ethan corrected. She nodded. "Together." The Queen appeared again, this time in full projection. "Today your bond has saved not just one world, but two. Humans and Velthara stand together now as equals. This is the beginning of a true alliance." Ethan smiled, exhausted but happy. "Guess looking at you was the best mistake I ever made." Thalra's lips curved slightly. "Perhaps," she said. "Or perhaps destiny has a sense of humor." After the battle, the Velthara High Council officially recognized the Human-Velthara Alliance, naming it the Gaze Pact. The symbol of the pact, two interlocking energy rings, one golden and one silver, was placed in every council chamber, every city square, and every ship's insignia. Ethan's role as a bridge between the species became famous. Humans were no longer strangers to the Velthara. They were respected, admired, and in some cases feared for their cleverness and courage. Thalra, once stern and unyielding, had begun to show warmth. She often sought Ethan's advice on strategy, laughed at his jokes, and even allowed him small freedoms in the palace that no other human had ever had. And Ethan? He had learned to appreciate discipline, honor, and the strength that came from commitment, something he had never truly understood until meeting the Velthara. One evening, the two of them stood on a balcony overlooking the glittering city of Velara, twin moons casting soft light across the crystalline towers. "You have changed," Thalra said softly, breaking the silence. "And you," Ethan replied, "have taught me more than I ever imagined." She looked at him, her golden eyes full of unspoken understanding. "Do you regret the first day when you looked at me?" Ethan smiled, shaking his head. "Not for a second." The wind carried the faint hum of the city, the quiet glow of the towers, and the soft laughter of humans and Velthara celebrating their first true victory together. In that moment, it was clear. The bond between them was more than law, more than strategy, more than the trials or the battle. It was the beginning of a new era, a partnership built on courage, understanding, and the simple truth that humanity, with all its humor, resilience, and heart, could stand proudly among the stars. And as the moons reflected on the towers, Ethan and Thalra knew that whatever challenges awaited, they would face them, together.